Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Charlotte Wessels, Tales from 6 Feet Under, Volume 2, out October 7th on Napalm Records. The album has 10 tracks, 42 minutes in length, and this is her second solo record. She's a Dutch singer, songwriter. From a design point of view, the album is very balanced. It really feels cohesive. It has a sense of unity across all 10 songs. Even though all 10 tracks are different, they have their own uniquenesses, but the things that bring them together are there and they're in the forefront, and it's easy to connect with them, and therefore it's easy to connect the record. The album puts a clear path in front of the listener. It's easy to follow, it has great fluidity, great mobility, which adds to the overall playability that the album offers. There's also a sense of growth with this record. I was listening to it and I felt like I was taking something out of each and every single song, and I was bringing all of those pieces together until I was able to put the final puzzle at the end of the journey. And once you put that final puzzle together, then you're able to better understand the experience, the atmosphere, the message of the album. It's a really interesting, unique journey. It's a really interesting and unique album because it gives you unity across 10 songs, but it also enhances and puts forward the individualities that they have. It's not always easy to match these two worlds. It's not always easy to create an album that has that sort of dynamic, but I really feel that she put it together in a perfect way, in a perfect balance and cohesive way, so that the album can be strong in the collective and strong within its individualities. As far as the soundscape is concerned, this album is very synth-driven, is a pop, rock, synth-driven album. It's undeniable the impact of the electronic side of the sound throughout each and every single song. Now, obviously, some songs will have it more, some songs will have it less, but it's definitely the red line that connects the entire record. For an album that has that much of an electronic backdrop to its sound, it's really interesting that it feels very organic, it feels very earthy. Those two elements are normally separated from one another. It's hard to have an earthy style sounding record when it's driven by electronic elements. In this case, she was able to somehow create an experience that feels connected with the planet that we're on, that feels connected with our own spirituality, but take it in a much different approach musically, but still keep that essence alive and well in the lyrical content and the atmosphere of the songs and what you get out of the tonality of her voice. So it's an interesting album sound-wise because it feels like it's going in a very different direction from what it actually makes you feel. I like this experience, I like this sound, I like the dynamic approach that it has. I also like the fact that some songs feel really stripped out, even though they're very textured and very layered. This album has a lot to offer. It has a lot of substance. Sometimes it hides it really well, but it's still there if you're willing to look for it. The other element of the sound that was really interesting for me is that it feels almost secondary to the vocals. This record is all about the lyrical content and all about the vocals. At least that's what I took from it, and that's what I gravitated to when I was listening to it. I felt connected with those two elements first and foremost. The sound was in the backdrop in order to create a scenery for what was being put forward by an incredible vocal performance and really interesting, in-depth lyrical content. Charlotte's voice on this album feels more natural than in the previous record. It feels more organic. It feels free. I don't think this album had some of the attributes that we saw in Volume 1. This album feels to me like a record where there is less chains around it. There's less chains around her voice, perhaps less pressure. She feels more comfortable in her new skin, in the environment that she's in, and that comes forward in the experience that you're going to get, not just from how the lyrics are put into the tracks, but how her voice navigates those lyrics in those tracks. It's an outstanding vocal performance from start to finish. Some of the layers, some of the backing vocals that she used really enhance that same experience, really enhance the atmospheric of the album. An album that's very melancholic. It gives you 10 different shades of melancholy. Every song has a dark side to it. Every song is taking you down a very introspective path. How dark and how deep that path is, well, that depends on each and every single song. But it's an interesting approach that you can create an album that has one sort of theme throughout and still change how that theme is put forward on a track-by-track basis. It's definitely a step up from Volume 1, but it also feels like the continuation of Volume 1. If you look at the sound, if you look at the experience, this album is the logical next step. But it's the next step in the evolution of Charlotte, the artist, the singer, the songwriter. Like I said earlier, in her voice, this album feels looser, it feels more natural, she feels more comfortable, at least she comes across feeling more comfortable throughout the entire record, and that has a positive impact in the atmosphere, in the experience, and what the record has in store for the listener from start to end. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with The Phantom Touch. This is a song that has great electronic elements. It creates a great atmosphere and a great soundscape with it. Her voice commands your attention. Now, this could be true about each and every single song on this album, but I felt deeply connected with this track in terms of how her voice was coming through. The layers that she used, the backing vocals that she used, allowed some portions of this song to surpass others. It allowed you to feel ebbs and flows vocally, not necessarily musically. The chorus hits harder, it has more volume, the vocals come across a little bit stronger, it has more intensity, it feels more extrovert versus what you were getting up until that point, which is a more introvert experience, feeling of melancholic and melody coming together as one. It's a great sounding track, it's a track that has outstanding vocals through and through. Next we have my favorite song on the record, A Million Lives. This is a more pop sounding song, at least at times. It has great texture, it really allows you to feel the jumps that exist within the song, the different momentums of the song musically and vocally are there for you to experience. It's a track that has a little bit of bite at times, but it doesn't depend on that bite to drive the listener. It doesn't depend on that bite to create volume or to create intensity. It's a song that never loses its dark underbelly. The dark underbelly is there from beginning to end. It just changes how dark the underbelly becomes depending on where you are within the track. It's also a song that lets the air in at times. It opens up your lungs. It allows you to feel like the track is getting bigger. It allows you to feel like Charlotte is letting herself a little bit more loose, is letting go of chains, of the restraints that hold her down. And that has a tremendous positive impact on how this song levitates at times, and then in how fast it dives in others. It's a great track. It feels stripped down, but at the same time it feels like it's filled with life and filled with energy. It has this dynamic, this duality of roles that finds a way of coexisting perfectly from start to finish. Last but not least, I Forget. This is definitely a stripped down song. It brings more of a relaxing atmosphere, of a relaxing mood into the forefront in the sound and how the vocals are put together. It's a very organic sounding track as well. That stripped down nature of the track, the acoustic guitars, the strings, all of these elements sound very earthy, and therefore you have that organic feel throughout the entire track musically, and then obviously her voice compensates and enhances that same feeling that you're getting from the song's sound. It's a phenomenal track. I mean, it's a ballad within an album that perhaps is filled with ballads. I don't want to call it a ballad, but it has a lot of that ambiance, it has a lot of that mood, it has a lot of that charisma in terms of how it sounds and how it's put together, the structure, and then obviously in terms of how it's delivered. This is it, Charlotte Wessels, Tales from 6 Feet Under, Volume 2, out October 7th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on her singles, on her career. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.